Hello and welcome to the 2013 Revere Beach Sand Sculpting Festival, the 10th anniversary of sand sculpting here on Revere Beach and the competitions. Standing with me is Meredith Corson, who is Director of Standing Ovations and a director of a lot of the activities that go on behind the scenes of getting this set up. Welcome, Meredith.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be back. Thank you.
Yeah. I understand, talking to people, that there's been a lot of activity that have been going on before this point in time that we're actually talking, and that you actually took us through some of that work that's been going on.
Yeah, what's really exciting this year is because of the 10-year anniversary and the expansion, we have added 5 sculptors. That means the event is increased by 50%. So there's a lot of preparation work that had to be done this year that we did not have to do in previous years.
Yeah, and we're standing here on Monday. You've been here since, I think, last Wednesday?
Actually, we came in on Tuesday and started working Wednesday, building the new forms.
Yeah. Well, we're going to take you through a lot of the activity that's gone through up to this point in time.
Hi, Meredith Corson here with Standing Ovations. It is that time of year again. I'm out here on Revere Beach for the New England Sand Sculpting Festival. This is the 10-year anniversary, so we're really excited. If you remember last year, we ended the whole event by closing up this bin. Well, the bin is back and we're ready to open it up and start 2013. There we go. That's exactly how we left it last year. What we're doing today, if you can see right here, all these forms, that's what the sculptors use to compact their sand to build their sculptures. We have 5 more sculptors this year, which is really exciting. We're increasing the event by 50%. But what that means is we need more of these. So the tech crew is down under the pavilion right now, building some new forms. We'll go down there, take a look, and see what they're doing. Oh, you remember Ben and Nick from last year, tech crew. What they're doing right now is putting the forms together. Dan's cutting the wood over there. They bring it over here. They've got this whole system set up where they just boom, 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 one right after another, make these forms. Each sculptor gets 5 sets of forms. That means 20 pieces for each sculptor. This is one right here. So each sculptor has 20 of these. They're in different lengths. They get 6 foot, 5 foot, 6, 5, 4, 3, and 2, and then they can configure them. They get 4 of each of those lengths, and then they can configure them any way they want. So Ben and Nick just rocking and rolling here and doing what they do best. Hi, Meredith Corson here from Revere Beach. Have a little bit of rain today, but that's not going to delay the process. We're going to be working on the water system today. In previous years, we've had 10 sculptors, and the event was farther south. With the change in the location, we now have access to fire hydrants, and what that means is we can hook up to the fire hydrant for the water, and each sculptor will get a hose. They do not have to bucket the water out of huge barrels. So that'll take a little bit of the strenuous part off the sculptor, which they love. That gives them more time to create beautiful sculptures. We're going to be checking out what Dan and Ben and Nick are going to be doing with the water system. You can see how we hook that up, and we'll get to that this afternoon. How the guys put this together today was every one of these pieces of pipe is 10 feet. There's a coupling in between each section, and then there's a T that goes off in the front of every sculptor's plot. We already know exactly where their plots are going to be. So that's what they did today. It's a lot of priming the plastic and then gluing it all together. And it's quite, you can see it's 300-400 feet of piping. So great work, guys. Well, it's the end of the day. You can see that the rain has gone. It didn't stick around very long at all. We were able to get done what needed to be done, and that's all this piping for the water. Each sculptor will have a hose going directly to their plot. So the guys today put all this piping together, and what we're going to do now is it cannot stay on the seawall. So for overnight, they're going to kind of just like roll it off the seawall, and you can see all the way down. It's about 2.5 football fields of piping. So great work from the guys today, and we're ready to roll it down onto the sand. Well, it's the end of the day, and a lot has happened today. First thing this morning, 8 o'clock this morning, the sand trucks were here, 4 of the sand trucks. The sand was dumped down at the end of the sand sculpting area, and a front end loader transported the sand to all the spots. You can see the piles of sand behind me. Those individual piles will be the actual sculptors' piles for the competition. New this year is our water system. We set it all up yesterday. You're never really sure if it's going to work until you turn that water on. We had no problems whatsoever. The guys did an amazing job, flawless. No leaks, no drips, nothing. The water worked out perfectly, and each sculptor is going to have a hose going directly to their pile, which really helps for them physically. It takes a lot of that physical effort out of the whole process. So good on the guys. The water worked great. We're ready to go tomorrow. What we're working on right here is the centerpiece. This process right here is called the pound up. So whenever the sculptors, you hear them talking about their pound up, this is what they're talking about. They put the wood together, the forms into whatever shape they want. They fill it with sand and water, sand and water, sand and water. And this is what you end up with. See how it's just like a mushy, wet sand. Now all this excess water will drain out. Tomorrow morning we'll put the second form on, and it'll continue higher and higher. There'll be about 7 forms high. The sculptors will use the exact same process, but in a little bit smaller size. Tomorrow we have 4 sculptors coming in today that will be helping us tomorrow working on the centerpiece. So things will go a lot faster tomorrow. And then, of course, next Wednesday, the competitors will split up and they'll all go head to head against each other. So come on down and see the magic happen. As you can see, we're well underway with the centerpiece. All our sculptors arrived safely yesterday. They were out here with us at 8 o'clock this morning, getting started on what is the centerpiece is called Boston Strong. What they're working on right now is the Boston skyline. That is going to be the silhouette of the skyline that you can see them working on right now. It's starting to take shape. Every day there'll be a little bit more done, and the work in progress on the centerpiece will go through next Thursday or Friday. We'll be finished with the centerpiece. In the meantime, the individual sculptors' piles are complete. That is what they will see when they come out. They will assess that pile. They'll decide what they're going to do with it, how they're going to face the sculpture. And they all get an individual hose. They all get buckets. They all get shovels. And then they bring all their own personal tools to create the sculpture. The setup this year, the event is completely handicap accessible. What we have done is we brought the sand sculptures closer to the wall. There is still a space, we're calling it a zone, a sand zone, in between the fencing and the wall that gives the sculptors access to move around. But what that does is it keeps it far enough away from the wall that when you come and you take pictures, you're going to have an unobstructed view. There's not going to be any people up against that fence in previous years. Anybody who's been to this event knows that it gets really crowded and it's hard to take pictures. So the sidewalk is actually going to be a type of viewing boardwalk, if you will. It'll be completely handicap accessible. Anybody can go from one end of the event to the other and see every single sculpture. We think it's a really nice feature for this year.
Welcome back. Meredith, it's really interesting looking at that film of all the work that gets done. I mean, people think the sand just gets dropped. People start building castles and stuff like that, but there's a lot of work goes behind this.
Yeah, it's definitely time-consuming and physically exerting, as you could see in the tapes. Yes.
Yeah. And not to mention that, of course, the weather. The weather plays a factor here. I mean, it's hot, and it's going to get hotter.
Yeah, we've had beautiful weather till now. A little bit of cloud coverage, which makes it really nice for working weather. But the sun is out now, but that'll bring the people down too. So we're happy about that. Okay. No rain. We'd rather have sun than rain.
I hear you. I appreciate that too. And we're on the beach.
Yes, yeah, it's beautiful.
Any of the guys gone in the water yet?
No. It's a little numbing to them. They're not quite used to this New England water.
Yeah. Well, this year, as you mentioned earlier, there are 15 sculptors. Normally we have 10. And if I have it right, we have about 7 or 8 that are returning. Mm-hmm. The usual, Dan, of course, Doubleday. We have Dan Belcher coming. Joby is coming
returning.
back.
He's won the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
He's won first place. So he now has more people gunning for him.
Sumi, of course, is returning.
Sue's back, yes.
And Benjamin Pervanza from Mexico,
Yeah, Benjamin's coming back.
Always interesting stuff is, I don't know if you've seen what he proposes to do, or do they all keep that secret?
I do not know what they're going to do.
Yeah, okay.
No, they do not tell me what they're going to sculpt.
Well, he does some interesting. I've seen some of the work, the Pablo Picasso-ish type of work that he's done before.
Yeah.
Steve Topazio from Tiverton, Rhode Island.
Yep, Steve's back.
And then Justin Gordon from Groveland.
Justin Gordon from Groveland, Mass. Yep. He's returning.
Who's got an interesting resume. I looked at some of his stuff online. He's done some interesting stuff.
Yeah, they don't do just sand, you know. They do get around. They're very talented in many different mediums.
And now we've also got a number of people coming over from Europe.
Well, you did forget one returner, Chris Ginto.
Oh, yes.
Who can forget Chris Ginto?
I'm in trouble now. I'm sorry, Chris.
But one of the new sculptors coming this year is Chris Ginto's wife, so that'll be fun to have. Mary Ann will be here. Yes.
Oh, that'll be interesting. I'd be curious to see the dynamics, that their work, with her on presence, if you will.
Well, interesting to say also is that a lot of the local people will be wondering why we didn't mention Matt Martelli.
Yes.
Matt Martelli was injured. He would have been here, but he was injured, and he thought he would be better by now, but he's not. So Mary Ann was the first person that we brought in to replace Matt Martelli.
Yes, I noticed that Matt wasn't on the list, and I'm glad you brought that up. And also another person that's not on the list is Stefan Robert, who is awaiting birth of another child.
Yes, just Bob. I believe she's in the hospital this morning. Same birthday maybe as the new king or queen. You never know.
Interesting. Yeah. So those are two people that aren't returning. We have another person, Sandis Kondrats.
Sandis Kondrats, he's from Latvia. He sculpts all over the world. Amazing, very nice guy too. And actually, the people would be interested to know that is Sue McGrew's husband.
No kidding. Yeah. Wow. So we're going to have a number of pairings this year.
Yeah, we do. We have 3 couples, I believe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's going to be great.
It happens in the sand world. That's where you meet, people, and it's very common that there are couples working in the sand world.
Fantastic. So all right, so we've got Chris and Mary Ann, Sandis and Sue, there's you and Dan, of course.
Edith Van Wettering and Wilfred Steiger. They are... I'm not sure if they're married, but they are a couple.
So there's another couple.
Yeah, they're from Holland.
And those are 2 of the other new appearances this year.
Those are 2 of the other new people.
And we have Lucinda
Waringa, also known as Sandy Feet. Most people know her as Sandy Feet. She's from South Padre Island, Texas, and she's been in the sand world longer than I have. She's an icon in the sand world. Yeah. She's been doing it for, I believe, 45 years. I'm not sure. and then along with Sandy comes Walter McDonald, is also from South Padre Island, and he is 70-something years old. He's amazing and has a very unique style.
Yeah, and I was looking at some information about him on the web, and yes, he is pretty interesting. So it's going to be really interesting from my perspective to interview some of and talk to some of these people, because it's always wonderful to get their background and some of the work that they've done. It's incredible to see the things they do.
Yeah, and we like to mix up the different styles as well. That's why we're really fortunate that we could increase the event. Sandy and Walter, you'll notice their style is very different. I mentioned Walter, but Sandy as well, and it's very well received by the public. Yeah. So we're happy to be able to bring some different styles in.
Well. And another competitor we have is Rusty Croft from California, I believe.
Yeah, and actually, Rusty, some people might recognize his name. He, along with Sue McGrew and Chris Ginto were some of the sand sculptors that were on the Sandmasters show. Yep. And Rusty was actually one of the people that started the show. It was his baby.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
All right, so there you go. There is the wrap-up. We're going to, some of them are here already. We're going to go off and talk to a few of those now, and we'll talk to the others as they arrive. Okay, we're standing here now with Chris Ginto from Key West, Florida, one of the 15 competitors. Chris, always some interesting talks with you and discussion with you and banter, as you will. You want to tell us what you're doing this year?
What am I carving?
Yeah.
It's a secret. It's a secret. I will tell you that I'm carving first place. I usually always say that, but this year I mean it. Yeah. I had to say that on camera before because I know that I wasn't carving first place, but I can't tell the competitors. I need Joby to feel like he's going to win and win and win. So 3 years in a row, he's won, and he can really hear it now that I'm going to take first. And because the reason why I let him win so many times that it's just he's so high up on a pedestal that it's just that much further for him to fall, hurt himself. So yeah, it's first place.
Yeah. Well, it's always great to have you back here. I'm looking forward to see what you come up with, and the discussions back and forth with the other competitors as the week goes on.
You know what? I pretend that they're my friends, but they're really not. I'm just here to compete against them, and maybe they can learn something from me. Hopefully.
Well, hopefully. Good luck. We'll talk to you later on as the week progresses. Thanks. All right, I'm now standing with Joby, Jonathan Bouchard, but everybody knows him as Joby, and Dan Doubleday, both of who have been with the sand sculpting competition for a number of years. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. Now, both of you are working on the center sculptor at this point, and then later in the week you're going to be going off to do your own work. Can you tell us anything about what you're going to be doing this year?
Absolutely not. The ideas are the hardest thing to come up with because there's only so much you can do with sand and the structure of sand. So you keep it secret because things get stolen.
Oh. So the same with you, Joby, yeah?
Well, for me, it's really hard to figure out. Every year it's the same. You heard it before, but I come here without really a plan, so I still have to figure out. I can't tell.
Now, in the years past, you've always had a sort of ecological theme or message. Is that going to be the same this year?
Maybe. I like to take the opportunity to make a piece in front of so many people and have something to say. So I like to show I don't know, open my mind to people, make people see stuff. I don't know. Yeah.
So we'll have to see.
Yeah.
Dan, I know in the previous events that a lot of some of the work that you do is both beautifully in terms of the sculpture and design, but last year I think a lot of what you were trying to do was technical of nature because, I mean, it was one of those things that very seldom have been done or have maybe never been done.
Yes, well, this is good sand here. You know, this sand is capable of going up 9-10 feet straight, which is very unusual for sand. But typically I'll carve, when we invite the sculptors here, we want them to leave a part of themselves on the beach because carving from the heart is what it's all about. Last year I went more technical because we score each other, and my weakness on the scoring has always been difficulty. So last year I wanted to do something that was a little more difficult to boost my score up a little bit on the difficulty part. And I came with absolutely no plan this year because if he doesn't come with a plan, that's the only way I'm going to beat him, you know. He's won for the last 3 years, you know, with his no plan excuse, you know. I'm not buying it. He just comes up with this and wins, you know. Yeah, right.
He dreams about it every night, likely.
I don't know. Joby's phenomenal, but we're so glad to have him here because he pushes everybody to be at a different level. You know, he brought something to sand sculpting that we'd never seen before. This hollowing out stuff, you know. We had to change the rules just because of him to slow him down a little bit, you know.
You bring up an interesting point. Is there anything different about this year's competition? I know you've got 15 people. Does that add any changes to you, the way you think about it, the way you come at it? Or in terms of rule changes, are there any rule changes?
No, there's really no rule changes this year. The only difference that since we score each other, we score each piece, it's a lot more walking this year because we're spread out so far, so we might have to change that a little bit. But no, there's no difference in scoring this year, and Joby's a master at meeting the criteria and coming up with a great idea, so, you know, we're all gunning for him. He's a marked man.
Anybody in particular amongst the new competitors who haven't been here in the past that you're kind of, if you will, gunning for or thinking about in terms of competition?
The new folks that are coming here are all seasoned veterans, but some of them have never worked in this sand, so they don't know what to expect. I think the thing that really helped Joby out the first year he was here is he came in early and helped us on the group carve here, on the sponsored pod, because they gave him a feel of the sand. He was amazed by the sand, and the piece he put out there was totally amazing too, because this sand's phenomenal. But the only thing that would hurt these folks is if they haven't used the sand before, but other than that, they're pretty tough competitors. I don't worry about them. I worry about him.
Oh my God.
Well, and in terms of work, the sand, and Joby, and as Dan mentioned, your first year, you hadn't worked with this sand before. So how was it for you, and what advice might you have for the newcomers who are going to be working with this for the first time?
Well, I already had a couple of experience with sand, but I really quickly noticed that this sand was really strong. Well, Dan also told me that this sand was amazing months before I got here. So I was a bit excited already about what could be possible to do technically, all those stuff. I think that year was the fish with the man inside it and all this stuff. So Well, I had this idea the night before, the night before the competition, but it really helps, as Dan was saying, that I worked on the demo piece before, and I don't know, it was nice to have the feeling. And for sand carvers, I think we have to be able to, I don't know if the word is okay, to gauge, to understand quickly what, just by touching it, by feeling it, to know what we can do with it.
Yeah, the qualities and properties of the sand, yeah?
Yeah. Well, it's some of the best sand in the world. And you have good sand, you have good art, you know, and Joby's real adaptable. Most of the people are adaptable, but in all fairness, you know, most of us don't have a complete idea of what we're going to do when we get here, because we really don't know how big the piles are going to be. We don't know what the weather conditions are going to be. There's a lot of variables, you know, when we show up. And typically an artist, if it's a true artist, it comes to him like this, like a song. You know, you can struggle for months to write a song, but all of a sudden it's there, you know, and that's the kind of inspiration we look for too. We inspire each other too, so, you know.
That's great. Well, I look forward to talking to you guys more as the week progresses. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm standing here with Sumi from Tacoma, Washington.
Yep.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And Dan Belcher from St. Louis, Missouri.
How you doing?
Yes, welcome. And both of you have been part of this competition for a number of years in the past. Welcome back. Any idea, or can you tell us a little bit about what you have planned this year?
Absolutely none at all. Hopefully I'll figure that out in the next couple days, keeping my fingers crossed. Hopefully some brilliant idea will strike me in the head. I don't know.
Interesting, Dan?
She's full of it. She always comes up with it. She always has this great idea. Oh, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was going to do till right beforehand. And then she pulls out this great idea. So yeah, she knows.
And how about yourself?
For once, I actually have a pretty decent idea of what I'm going to do. I just need to kind of strip it down and keep it a little bit simpler so I don't spread myself too thin.
I remember some of your work from the past. There was the thunderstorm, and then last year was a very personal sculpture that you did.
Oh, yeah, thanks. Yeah, it was just a dedication for my mother who passed away last year. So it's just some personal thoughts into a collage, and nothing that I really anticipated anybody getting, but for me it was meaningful.
Yeah. And Sue, some of yours that I do remember from the past, one was the Archer, very graceful. And the last year was the two-sided one. There was, I think, the angel on one side and death on the other side. Would that be appropriate?
Yeah, that was it, yeah. I really enjoyed it because it was something so different on the other side. It really took people by surprise when they walked to the other side. What is this? This is not what they saw on the front.
So going back to the question about, when you think up your ideas, when did you come up with that one?
That one, I started out with I came in with a different idea, but then that idea kind of evolved into the piece I did once I was here. Okay. So I came in and I had all my forms ready, and then decided I don't want those forms and had to throw them out of the window and go find other forms. And yeah.
As artists and competitors, with the new format and is it spread out a little bit more this year? Any changes in terms of how you're going to come at it or your work? And
no, I think it's just going to be interesting because just the different position on the beach. Normally we're right down by the Reinhardt Bandstand, and so there's a lot of people that come to the beach right at that area. So you get a lot of people interacting with you on a constant basis. This will be a lot more people moving along the beach, so it'll be a little bit different. It'll be fun. With 15 competitors, we are quite spread out. So yeah, it'll be a little more. Really be harder to keep track of what everybody's doing, but you really just keep track of what you're doing, because even though it's a competition, you're only really working within yourself. I mean, it's not like a race. It's not so objective. It's all subjective. So yeah, we'll just see. Hopefully, it's just with 15 people, it'll be 50% more for people to see, which is awesome.
Sue?
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Definitely a different feel for me being all the way down here. And I remember last year people would just sit out there and sit under the shade and watch us. So I'm wondering if there will be more like walking instead of sitting and watching. But I don't know. It'll be interesting.
It'll be interesting to see how that change affects things. You mentioned something about the 15 competitors and watching what the others are doing and stuff. And I would imagine at the end of the day, you all go back to the hotel or wherever it is you're staying. Do you kind of talk over like the day's events, issues, problems, help each other?
Yeah, I think it's like with anything, you know, people you work with, you kind of decompress and talk about different things and what's happening, what happened in your day, what happened in your, you know, because it is what we're doing here for, you know, for us it's 8 days, and then 4 of that is the competition. So yeah, I mean, it's just like any other work environment, and our whole interaction between everybody is pretty informal, pretty informed, pretty loose. Most of the conversations we have, you wouldn't want to hear. You know, it's silliness, and most of it is just being tired from a day's work. You know, so yeah. I mean, just, you know, everybody. There's a lot of comparison. How'd your day go? What happened? Oh yeah, I had this problem. Oh, I had that problem too. And it, to most people, would be pretty boring. But you know, that's what our life is.
And then there's conversations with Chris Ginto, right?
Those aren't really conversations. It's more just like verbal jabs and verbal jousting. You know, Chris keeps it interesting. So yeah, and then as we sit out here in the heat, you know, your head gets baked, and you know, you start saying things that don't really make sense. Like, I think I just said Reinhardt bandstand. Yeah. So I mean, you know, you have verbal flubs, and yeah, and then you're like, when we're working, we're answering questions and trying to work, so it's kind of a duplicitous thing, you know. So yeah, it's, you know. Some days don't make so much sense.
Well, I'm looking forward to talking to both of you during the rest of the week. Good luck with your sculptures.
Thank you very much.
All right, take care. That's it for today. We'll see you tomorrow.